and today I am going to show you how to make a Flappy Bird game in Scratch 3.0. So what we want to do is first go to scratch.mit.edu. In the upper left hand corner, you want to click Create. Now that we have a new project, we want to go to Sprite 1, the Scratch Cat, right click him, and delete him. Now, since we want a new sprite, go to Choose a Sprite, Paint, and go to Costumes. Since I've already pre-made vector sprites for you, then what we can do is download them, go to Choose a Costume, Upload Costume, and click the pigeon. Open it. As you can see, it's vector already, and all we have to do is make the game with it. So, go to Code, Events, when green flag clicked, Motion, go to X, Y, block, drag it out, and set the X to -160. Now, we want to set the Y to 0. So, click it, and as you can see, the sprite's not showing up. That's because we have to go to Looks, switch Costume to Pigeon, and Show. As you can see, the sprite's still not showing up. So what we want to do is go to Costumes and drag the sprite up a bit. Oops. Press Ctrl Z to undo it, and there we go. Now go back to Code and go to Looks and set the size to 80 or 60. Let's set it to 60. Now click the green flag. It's still a bit big, so let's go ahead and set it to 30. That is a really good size actually. So now we want to go to Control, Forever, and we actually want to make a new variable. So go to Variables, and a variable is a block that you can store stuff in. So make a variable, and let's just call it Gravity. Now let's set it to all sprites and click OK. So now you can see the gravity variable is created and it shows up right here. It also shows the content of it, which can only be a number or a word sometimes. So what we actually want to do is go here and click the check mark, and that will hide the variable from view. Now what we want to do is set the gravity to 0. So drag out the set gravity to 0 block and put it under the when green flag clicked. As you can see, it still doesn't do anything. That's because we have to make our Y position connected to the gravity. So what we want to do is go to Motion, change Y by 10, drag out the change Y by 10 block, and go to Variables and drag the gravity into it. So you can click it and it still doesn't do anything. That's because we have to change the gravity by -1. And as you can see, it will fall. Now we want to actually make it so that when we click, then the Flappy Bird rises up into the air. So drag out, go to Events, when green flag clicked, and go to Control, drag out a Forever block, and this is a new block that we want to use. It is called If Then. So what we want to do is drag the If Then block into Forever. Now we want to go to Sensing. Now we want to go to Key Pressed, and let's set it to Space. Now we want to go back to Variables and set Gravity, and let's set it to 15. Let's see if that will work. As you can see, it's still a bit high. So what we want to do is set it to 5 maybe. Pretty good, but too low. Now let's set it to 10. Perfect. Now, if you want to make it point in the direction that it's facing, then you want to go to Motion, Point in Direction, and drag it into the forever. Now, we want to go to Operators and minus. So drag that out and put it in the point direction 90. Now we want to go to Variables and put the gravity in the second slot. Now let's subtract it by 90. Let's see if that works. Sure enough, it does. So that is actually very cool. So now what we want to do is import a new sprite, the pipe sprite. So click Paint, Code, Costumes, choose a costume, and upload the pipe sprite. It's very big and it's not showing up on the screen. So what we want to do is drag it up like that and delete the first costume. Now let's go back to Code and Events and when green flag clicked. Now go to Motion and go to X0, Y0. Now what we want to do is go to Looks, switch Costume to Pipes, and Show. It's still a bit big as you can see. Now what we want to do is set the size to 50. Still too small. So what we want to do is set it to 70 maybe. Yes. Motion. And drag out a set Y to block. Now go to Control and drag out a forever block. Now put the set Y to block in the forever block and go to Operators. Now we want to set the Y to pick random minus 10 to 10. Now let's see. A little bit too small. Let's put it minus 20 to 20. Very good. So now what we want to do is go to Events, Control, wait 1 second, and this is a new block. So what we want to do is go back to Control and drag out a Create Clone of Myself. What this will do is it will create a copy of itself, an exact copy of itself, and you can control it with the When I Start as a Clone. So that's exactly what we want to do. So when I start as a clone, then we want to show and forever and motion and change X by -5. As you can see, it's actually changing X by, and it's switching the Y position up and down. But it's right in the middle, and we don't want it to be right in the middle. And this is still showing. We actually want to hide it. So replace the show block with a hide block from the looks. And we want to set the X to 240. That will make it go to the right edge of the screen. As you can see, it's working now. And you can use the Flappy Bird with the space key and dodge the pipes. But when we hit the pipes, it's not doing anything. And the clones aren't deleting themselves. You can see them collecting on the left side of the screen. So what we want to do is go to Control, If, and Motion, and X position. Now go to Operators and drag out the less than block. And we want to set it to -240. Now drag the X position in, put this right here, and we want to delete the clone. So there's actually a block that deletes the clone, and it's called delete the clone. Now we can, as you can see, it deletes. Nope, it doesn't. That's because I didn't drag it in. Now, let's organize the sprites. It's just kind of confusing naming it Sprite 2 and Sprite 1. Let's just name this Bird and name the pipes, Pipes. Now, there's a really neat trick in Scratch that you can do. Now, right-click the stage and click Clean Up Blocks. As you can see, it organizes themselves automatically. And let's do that to the bird too. Now, what we want to do is make the bird die when it hits the blocks. So what we want to do is go to Pipes and If and Control, and drag out an If block and go to Sensing and Touching. Now we want to click the drop down menu and select Bird. Then we want to go to Events and broadcast a message. A message is kind of like if it's touching something, then you can broadcast something. So we want to make a new message. Let's call it Die. Now let's go to Birds. When I receive Die, then Control and Stop All. Now we can see if that actually works. It does. But we want the bird to hide. So let's go to Looks and drag out a hide block. As you can see, it's pretty cool. You can dodge these and boom, it stops. But it's not really that fun at all. As you can see, it just stops. We want a game over screen. And if you want, we can make the bird fall. So if we want to make the bird fall, then click Variable, set gravity to, and let's set it to 10. Actually, let's set it to 5. Now, we can stop other scripts and sprites. And let's see. It still doesn't do anything. That is because it's not falling and it's hiding. So what we want to do is we want to go to Control, and there is a block called Repeat Until. This will repeat until something. So we want to go to Motion and drag out a Y position block. Now let's go to Operators and let's drag out a less than block again. Now we want to set the second slot to -180. Now let's drag the Y position into the first slot and put the hide on bottom. As you can see, there's nothing filled in here. So let's change the gravity by -1 and let's change Y by gravity so that the gravity is connected to the Y. Oops. Let's clean up blocks and let's drag that back in. Now let's click the green flag. Boom. But the bird's still bouncing right there. So what we want to do is we want to stop this script. So click this, stop this script, and we want to stop this script only. So let's click the green flag and see if that works. Nope, it still doesn't. And that is because we need to create a new variable called isAlive. If it is alive, if it isn't alive, then it'll fall straight through. But if it is alive, then you can keep on flapping. So let's go to variables and make a variable. Let's call this variable dead. And what we want to do is when the green flag is clicked, then we want to set dead to false. And when green flag clicked, you set dead to false. Now, then we want to put it right here. Let's clean up the blocks. Go to control, and if dead is equal to false, then we can keep on flapping. So dead, and go to operators and select the equals. Let's put false. Put dead into the first slot, and there we go. Now we want the when I receive die, then we want to set the dead to true. Let's see if that works. Nope, and that's because we have to add the same script to the sprite too. But first we want to go to control and put the if block and put the dead equals false into the space bar block. Now let's go to sprite and let's go to operators, and here's a new block called and. Now let's drag the touching bird into the first block and drag out another equals. Now let's go to variables and put if dead equal to false. There. Now it should work. As you can see, the bird fell off the screen, but it's hiding behind the pipes. So there is a block called go to front, and that will make it go to the front of everything. But if there's another block called go to front, then if the block is called first, then it'll go to front. So let's press space. And as you can see, the bird just died. Now let's go to pipes. Now we actually want to set the wait seconds to 3 seconds so that the pipes have more time to spawn. As you can see, the pipes are spawning less each second, but they're spawning each 3 seconds. We want it to set to random. So what we want to do is click the stop flag and go to operators and pick random 1 to 3 seconds. In the next tutorial, we will show you how to make a game over screen. See you in the next tutorial.